What happens when a breakup doesn't just divide two lives, but two entire worlds? When the echoes of love linger not only in memories, but in furniture, wallpaper, and the smallest details of interior design. This is the story of Khloé Kardashian, who, in the midst of personal transformation and the stress of moving into a new home, found herself once again confronting the familiar shadow of Tristan Thompson. And not because of betrayal or gossip this time, but something stranger, quieter, and perhaps even more unsettling: the decor. Imagine pouring your heart into curating a space that reflects your individuality, only to discover that someone else, someone who once shared your most intimate moments, has copied it down to the details. For Khloé Kardashian, this was not just deco, it was identity. It was healing. It was a sanctuary built in the aftermath of chaos. And yet, as she prepared for a new chapter, whispers emerged. Tristan Thompson, the man who had broken her trust in the past, had seemingly lifted her style, mirrored her taste, and recreated her environment as if to erase the distance she had fought so hard to create. This wasn't just a coincidence. This was a confrontation. Khloé Kardashian calling out Tristan for copying her decor was more than a dramatic headline. It was a revelation of how deeply controlled imitation and influence can seep into the very walls of our lives. The scene begins in Calabasas. The neighborhood is quiet, lined with manicured hedges and homes that could easily belong on glossy magazine covers. Behind one of those gates, Khloé Kardashian was facing what should have been a moment of relief. Her new home was almost ready. A house designed with meticulous care, a reflection of her resilience after years of public heartbreak. Yet, as the moving trucks arrived and stress built with every unopened box, there came an undercurrent of tension. Friends whispered. Social media chatter buzzed. Tristan Thompson's new home bore uncanny similarities to hers. The marble countertops, the oversized glass doors, even the soft neutral palette, the creams, the taupes, the subtle grays, felt like déjà vu. For the public, it was speculation. For Khloé, it was personal. In a world where every detail of the Kardashian lifestyle is scrutinized, from their wardrobe to their Instagram captions, copying one's decor might seem trivial. But here, it wasn't about taste. It was about ownership of self. The stress of moving, the overwhelming responsibility of building a safe space for her children, and the weight of expectation all collided into this moment of recognition. Khloé Kardashian didn't just notice the similarities. She felt them, like echoes of a relationship she had worked so hard to escape. Narration slows. Deliberate. Tristan Thompson has been part of Khloé's story for years. Their romance, once celebrated, had been tainted by scandal, betrayal, and tabloid frenzy. Yet, even after their split, their lives remained entangled by the shared bond of their daughter. True, co-parenting had forced civility. But civility is not the same as trust. And when Tristan's home began resembling Khloé's line by line, lamp by lamp, the tension cracked open again. Khloé called it out and not behind closed doors. But in the way she knows best, candidly, directly, and unapologetically. To her, the decor was not an imitation, it was an invasion. A mirror of her sanctuary in the hands of a man who had already taken so much of her peace. The dramatic confrontation became another chapter in their turbulent narrative. But this story is not just about two people. It's about how environments reflect identity. Khloé Kardashian had built her home as a fortress of calm. The clean lines, the neutral palette, the curated spaces, all whispered of renewal and control. It was a place where she could breathe, away from the chaos of cameras and criticism. And to see that copied elsewhere, in Tristan's new space, was to feel her individuality diluted. As if, even in separation, he was still writing over her script. Inside her home, every piece of decor had meaning. The plush cream sofas were not just furniture. They were comfort after nights of uncertainty. The expansive windows weren't just architectural choices. They were symbols of transparency, of light pouring into spaces once darkened by doubt. Even the kitchen, the heart of the Kardashian household, was designed as a place of togetherness, a stage where family could gather, laugh, and heal. To have those intimate design choices echoed in Tristan's environment turned decor into drama, style into struggle. The cameras, of course, caught fragments. They always do. In one moment, Khloé's voice sharpened, tinged with disbelief as she confronted the realization. "He's copying me," she said, the words simple yet heavy. For For outsiders, it was gossip fodder. For insiders, it was an insight into how deeply their past still bled into the present. Calling out Tristan for copying her decor amid her move stress wasn't pettiness. It was about boundaries. It was about drawing a line in a narrative where lines had so often been blurred. Tristan, on his end, remained quieter, less dramatic. Whether by design or deflection, his stance was ambiguous. Did he consciously copy her? Did he find comfort in familiarity, mimicking the aesthetic of the woman whose presence loomed so large in his life? Or was it coincidence, a matter of shared taste born of shared years? The truth, perhaps, lies somewhere in between. But perception matters, and in Khloé's world, perception is reality. The documentary lens widens here, exploring not just the decor but the psychology of imitation. To copy someone's style is to acknowledge their influence. To replicate their environment is to tether yourself to their world, even after they've tried to close the door. For Khloé Kardashian, Tristan Thompson's choices felt like yet another way he was pulling at strings she had been trying to cut. Decor was not just decor. It was possession without presence, and as the moving stress intensified, the symbolism grew sharper. Here was a woman rebuilding yet again, carving out space for herself and her children, only to find her safe haven mirrored in a place she could not control. The confrontation, then, was inevitable. Khloé called it out not to reclaim decor, but to reclaim her story. To say, my space is mine, my taste is mine, and my life is no longer yours to shadow. The cameras linger on Khloé's face, calm, but firm, weary, but unyielding. She has been here before, though in different ways. Public heartbreak, public healing, public resilience. But deep, this was new. And yet it spoke volumes about the entanglements of their lives. To the world, it was another headline. To her, it was a battle for ownership of peace, as the episode plays out. Viewers see Khloé balancing the chaos of unpacking boxes, managing children, and asserting herself. The decor drama becomes a metaphor. No matter how much she moves forward, the past attempts to replicate itself. But her response, calling Tristan out, becomes its own act of empowerment. In the polished kitchens, the pristine living rooms, the carefully chosen art pieces, lies a deeper message. Healing requires boundaries, and boundaries must be defended by the time the dust settles. The decor confrontation is more than a scandal. It is a reflection of how relationships can haunt us, not just in memory, but in the very spaces we inhabit. For Khloé Kardashian, moving into her new home was supposed to be a clean slate. Instead, it became a reminder that the shadows of Tristan Thompson's choices still lurked nearby. Yet, in calling him out, she reclaimed control once again. Because this story is not about sofas or countertops. It is about identity, survival, and the courage to declare, you cannot copy my sanctuary. You cannot own my peace. And so the narrative closes on a powerful note. Khloé Kardashian, amid move stress, facing yet another echo of the man who had once shared her home, her heart, and her trust. She calls him out, not for revenge, not for spectacle, but for herself. To ensure that this chapter, written in the language of decor and design, belongs only to her. And in that declaration, the decor becomes more than decor. It becomes defiance. It becomes resilience. It becomes the final word in a dialogue too long dictated by others. Khloé Kardashian called out Tristan for copying her decor. But in truth, what she called out was far bigger. The lingering shadows of influence. The attempts to replicate her identity. The refusal to let go. And in doing so, she reminded the world and herself that even in the smallest details, she owns her story.